And we are live, and welcome to the fifth interview today. I'm joined by a guest, an important guest called Glade, who we will come to a second. But first of all, I'm Peter/Ethel, the founder and co-administrator at EssenceOfThought. We produce referenced human rights materials, videos, and yeah, we're here today to raise money for our legal fund, which you can probably see above. What's that legal fund for? Well, there are bigots out there, specifically transphobic bigots, and those transphobic bigots like to help quacks attempt to torture children. So, yeah. They also don't like it when you report on that fact and will threaten you with defamation lawsuit when you do. So that's what that's up there for. We are raising money for a legal defense fund to be used either by this channel or any other trans person hit with a defamation slap suit by people such as Graham Linehan for simply reporting on the harm they are doing to the trans community. Now, with me today, I have Glade, who would you like to present yourself? Would you like, yes, present yourself and possibly give us your pronouns?
Hi, present myself. Hi, I'm Glade. I use they, them pronouns, and I am a lot of things. I'm polyamorous, gender fluid, panromantic, bisexual. So a whole list there. And I've been I've been identifying this way for a few years, different for each different identity, and that will probably be talked about some point.
So, yes, oddly enough, we started talking because we have a mutual connection in the chat hanging around, a certain squawking bird. And it turns out that we actually share quite a few of our identities in common. Um, I'm trans, bisexual, and I am poly. So, yes, that was an interesting sort of thing, and I think we actually both have stuff to talk about on this topic because, as you were telling me what you wanted to talk about, I was like, actually, you know what? I have some stuff on this one. I don't need to prepare this. I actually will be able to help out. I guess the main sort of discussion is the way that multiple identities, when you have them pertaining to the LGBT plus umbrella, uh, there's sort of a gatekeeping present, both in society at large and even in the LGBT plus community. And it kind of influences the way that we as people with multiple identities kind of present ourselves in these communities. I mean, some of these communities are not even that open to singular identities, so the idea of mixture of identities, it leads on to some stereotypes, some assumptions about people, and I wonder if you like to share your experience with that, possibly in general society. First of all, we'll get that, and then move on to like the LGBT plus community, if that's okay.
Okay, so in general communities, gender fluid is just not a general thing. People understand being trans, but then the moment you bring like non-binary identities into the mix, they're like, "Oh, is that like gender non-conforming, or is it some like weird Tumblr?" Like I immediately get Tumblr comments whenever I talk about myself,
Yeah. Another
which is
one
awkward.
is sometimes confusion about intersex people. I've had that sometimes as well. Like someone's like, oh, is that? And they'll use a certain H word, which is no longer
Oh
in
yeah,
use.
that
Yeah.
word.
Yes. So like, okay. Uh, yeah. But there's also the fact that it's not just if you have one identity, because identities like gender fluid, bisexual, demisexual, or poly, like they all, gay and lesbian is in most places generally accepted. Trans is still in different places. It really depends. It's dependent on so many factors. But like it's making ground at least in various places. Uh, but when it comes to like the rest of the identities, it is such a minefield of like assumptions and sneering. Like, oh, you're one of them, are you? Um, with like gender fluid, the term that always comes up is transgender. That's I don't know if you've experienced that term a lot.
Oh, horrendously, especially because I haven't really been able to medically transition yet. I
Hmm.
want to, but just I need to be, you need to be older here unless you get a parent's approval, which I do not. So I'm like just old enough to get it done, and that was like 2 months ago. So I like, so they're like, oh, well, you present very feminine. You must just want the label for the sake of being unique. And
I
it's really stupid because it's like, yes, I want to be harassed,
hmm,
but with uniqueness.
yes, it's like it's ridiculous because currently I'm dating Adita, of course, who is, um, you know, very feminine, just cis woman, she pronouns, and like if I wanted, I could just pass as a cis guy and heterosexual, but I don't.
And I couldn't do that exact same
But I
thing with
don't.
I did, yeah, I could do the exact same thing because the one, like, I have a bunch of partners, but the one person that's not long distance is male, like, he's cis male. So I would just, like, I could just pass as a cis female that goes with my boyfriend and not have to worry about all this harassment that people get for being different, you know?
Yeah, but they think that being trans is like the trendy in thing now. It's rapid onset gender dysphoria. That's what the kids are talking about. Except it's not the kids. It's the kids' parents who have been listening to people like those from Mumsnet. Um, but yes, there was a point I was going to lead on with, but I'm currently stalling. The hamster wheel is still loading. But yes, and of course, another aspect of the identity that is often rejected is the bisexual part as well. Um, like the desperation by monosexual people to like force us to adhere to a category, like one of theirs. Okay, you're dating someone of the same gender, therefore you're in
You
a
are
gay
gay.
relationship. You're in a gay
You
relationship.
are gay.
You're in an opposite gender relationship. You are straight, as straight as they come, and it's like
That
actually
actually happened to me when I
no.
started high school. I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm dating a girl, and she's really cool." So they were immediately like, "Oh, so you're a lesbian?" I'm like, but no, I'm bi." And then they're like, "Oh, that's weird," and I'm like, not really." But anyway, and then about a year later, I started dating my current boyfriend, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm dating a guy now." And so they're like, "Oh, so you turned straight?"
Hmm.
Like I'm a shapeshifter.
Yeah. It's just because it's still a big part of your identity. It's still a big part of your history and like everything about you. But they're just so
And right
quick
now,
to
it
strip
blows
you
their
of it.
mind.
Yeah.
Blows their mind. I'm dating both a female and a male. Blows their mind, makes them lose all of their like, what? That's possible?
Yeah. Yeah. Sadly, that's again, people just have this assumption. I think a large part of that has to do with the way that like sexuality is presented in media. Um, the only time that someone's like really outwardly bisexual is when it's typically a cis woman for the male gaze. Like they flirt with other women and that's it. They'll do some like flirting. That'll be it. Um, and they might engage with like a threesome with like the cishet male protagonist
Oh,
sort of
don't get
thing.
me
That
started on
that
threesomes.
that's like the only like presentation of bisexual people. Like genuinely human characters. Like if they're dating a person of the opposite gender, then they're straight. If they're dating someone of the same gender, then they're gay. And if they switch between the two, they've magically changed sexuality. And the one that like I discussed this with you before the show that I remember, showing my age here, is Willow from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and like
It
how
might be showing your age. It might just be that I'm not
it's
knowing of
showing my
any
age.
sort of.
So it's not even really in my age demographic. It's really the people before me. But my mum just like she didn't have a problem with it and Angel, so she just like watched it whilst ironing whilst I watched it. So yeah. Um, But anyway, because Willow, for those who don't know, is one of like Buffy's best friends. Starts out seemingly outwardly heterosexual, dates a couple of guys, and then gets a female love interest. And the writers had canonically made her bisexual, but then they were going to one of boyfriends goes away because he's infected by lycanthropy, I believe it was, or he might get lycanthropy this way. I can't remember exactly, but he comes back when she's dating this woman, and so like there was going to be a bit of like there's going to be a bit of internal conflict on whether now she wanted to be with him or with her. But sadly, people were like really angry at even like the prospect that this could happen, and so the writers just completely omitted that part of like the storyline and just turned her through and through lesbian, which like it's just a bit of a slap in the face to have a good human bisexual representation, someone who isn't just a sex object, and just have them stripped of that and like, okay, they were straight then, they're now, gay, and that's it. That's how
They've
they are
gotten
now.
their gay awakening.
Yeah.
No, they can't just be bi. That's not allowed. You have to have a gay awakening.
Yeah. Another thing, of course, is the remark that we're just greedy.
Oh God.
That's one that I used to get a lot at school, actually, when I was outed at school as bisexual. And my response was always like the Hovis, best of both. This is a response, like, I try to be lighthearted about it, but like, again, this idea that, oh, I'm out to sleep with everyone I see thing, because that's another thing. I had to go through the changing rooms, and the guys were all like, oh, you're looking at me. I was like, look, I know
I
an
kind of
attract.
have to. We're in a cramped room together.
I know an attractive guy when I see one, and you don't even register on like the counter, so don't flatter yourself.
Oh yeah, that really stupid. I know you're gay, but like, can you get over your crush with me? And I'm like, what crush?
Yeah, it's just absolute. It's so self-absorbed. Like, oh, then again, I guess it was mostly the guys, but then again, I guess that the guys also always think that like they're the God's gift to women as well.
They're the
So
pinnacle of mankind, and
yes,
every woman just wants to sleep with him for no reason whatsoever.
so clearly all gay and bisexual people must be the same. No, it's that was yeah. And then of course there's the poly aspect. And that opens up all sorts of venues, especially when it is bisexuality,
Yeah,
because like,
I felt so bad right before coming out as poly
mhm,
because like I first got bi and then I decided poly and then people were like, "Oh, well then you're just a greedy bisexual person." I'm like,
yeah,
"I'm not greedy. I
I
just like people."
yeah, it's a strange thing that hey, maybe people are capable of more complicated connections with one another than the nuclear serial packet family. Um, so yeah, and that's the cis community. Does it get much better as we move to the LGBT plus community?
Kinda.
It
Not a lot.
it depends on the circle.
Yeah, like the fact that I'm on the ace spectrum with the demi.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I forgot
There's
about
that
that.
really fun ace exclusionist thing going on where,
Yeah.
especially with demi people, because people just always ask me, isn't that just normal?
Oh,
And
God.
I'm like, no, it is not.
You
Do you know
can.
how you can tell? Walk into any store with a magazine.
Yes. You can look across a room and like see someone and be like, I want to be with that. Like
That is cute. I want to do
yes.
the thing with that.
I want to bump uglies. I want to do the monster mash. Uh,
Monster.
but it's like, yeah, lucky you.
Try to keep it PG.
Another thing that they just kind of erase is the fact that you don't necessarily know, like, if you're ever going to be sexually attracted to someone going into a relationship, which is not a fun situation to be. Like, I've been in a situation where I was. This is when I was also dating Adita. I was dating a guy, and I wasn't sure like if the I was getting the emotional connection first up. Let's see if the sexual connection like comes along. It sadly never did, and it wasn't fun all round sort of thing. I was still like up for an emotional relationship. Sadly, they were looking for other things. I was like okay with that, but they decided, you know what, you led me on, even though I was like very clear, like up front that I'm
That
poly and demi, and this.
leading a mom thing always pisses me off.
Mm-hmm.
Because what the heck does that even mean?
It's also the weird thing is like I was the older one who had like extra money who was like spending it on stuff. That was another thing. Like not that like not spending money on a date like you owe sex to anyone. No matter how much you spend on a date for anyone, they do not owe you sex. But it's the idea like, you know, I was like they weren't the one paying for like the dates and stuff. I was, and yeah, I was apparently like leading them on. Like okay, yeah, and that was a hell of an experience. That kind of crashed and burned, which will be taken by someone to say that as evidence that poly relationships don't work. When no, we've seen what you like monogamous people do. I have had very clean breakups with people as a poly person, because I'm very clear of my boundaries like up front. But I see like how messy like high school relationships can be and stuff like that. So it's not just poly people.
Not even just high school relationships. I've seen what some of y'all married monogamous straight people do, and
I think it's about half, isn't it, within 6 months? I can't remember the top of my head. But yeah, so that like, and that's the thing. Any mistake, any like failure or breakdown in relationship
that's
is
immediately a sign
pathologized.
that
Yeah,
poly or whatever is a problem instead of, the relationship.
and this actually became a very heated aspect when I was at university. Um, and that was the fact that at university, that's when I first started dating Adita. Adita was totally unsure about herself. She didn't come to the LGBT plus meeting. She came to the atheist humanist secularist meeting, which is where we first met her. And we did free tea and coffee for the LGBT plus night at campus because the Christian Union, who did most of the club nights, surprisingly didn't do their night for free tea and coffee. So we did it. And we were there, and she was like getting so into it because like she'd had no knowledge about these identities. She'd worked with feminist organizations in India like Slut Walk, but like they hadn't done much of the LGBT plus stuff, so she didn't really understand like gender identity, sexuality, and stuff. And she very quickly came to like to discover that she was bisexual, and then over time we started dating each other as well. Thing is, she's a lovely woman. She looks great. She's got a great personality. She makes it very attractive. And then there was me dating
I would
her.
hope so.
That was say everything nasty about my wife. She's not here. She like.
Oh yeah, I love my wife. Yeah, please love your. That's an important thing to do.
But like I was dating her. I was dating this other guy that I mentioned. And there was a group of lesbians from my LGBT plus society who decided, you know what, it's a waste. It's a waste. And they were, because I was always doing activities, and Adia can always like follow me. I was always doing activities. She'd sometimes go out, and they started like approaching her and drip feeding like her these insecurities that I'd get bored of her and I'd just go and leave her for a different person. Yes, suck it, I'm still with her, married. 6 years after meeting, I moved to India for her. So like, yeah, that didn't work out, did it? But yeah, they were really feeding her these toxic narratives, and it actually really broke her down. The thing is, I didn't really have the people involved like didn't really attend the same events as me, so I didn't have the ability to talk to them directly. So I just put out this public statement on like all the LGBT plus spaces that we're all in, going over the facts of, yeah, I'm poly, this is what it is. This is what it's like. This is what it's like to have my partner come home at night crying because of all the shit you told her. Um, like, back the fuck off. And thankfully they did. Yes. So that's my terrible experience in dealing inside the LGBT plus community. Another one, of course, is unless you have anything else to say on that aspect. Sorry.
Well, with me, it's just more of a my life. I wear my life out on my sleeve usually. So whenever something bad happens, then everyone descends and immediately starts like pointing out flaws with the LGBT plus community instead of going like, this is what's wrong with your relationship. This is why it's bad to
Yeah.
be in a polyamorous relationship. And I'm like,
Uh,
because I went through like a very like me and my boyfriend were dating this girl, and me and the girl were also dating this guy.
mm-hmm.
So girl breaks up with him. Girl breaks up with him, guy breaks up with me, girl breaks up with me, all in rapid succession.
Mm-hmm.
This is like within a month of each other. So the moment I told people about this, they were immediately like gaslighting me and being like, this is why you shouldn't be in a polyamorous relationship.
And that's absolutely horrific because like they don't understand that it's not something you opt into.
Yeah, and what ended up also happening was then we like find them like a little bit later, and turns out they're completely monogamous together, and it did not help matters at all.
Yeah, it's like the lying of like why couldn't you just sort of like be upfront with these things?
Turns out that the whole reason they broke up with us was because they're actual assholes, and they gave us excuses
Mm-hmm.
for like they were saying things like you told a lie once, and me and you don't have a connection, whatever that means this year.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like it was really bullshit reasons they were breaking up with us. And then we find out that they were like in a monogamous relationship, and we're like, oh, so you're just assholes. Like it wasn't anything wrong with me. But immediately people were like, it wasn't, they were bad people that broke up with us. It's polyamorous puts a strain on people and it ruins relationships, and this is why you should never do it.
I mean, there are like times when people enter a relationship and like things change, like you don't understand it, but then there are ways to, like just go about it. Like if something just changes, like in the relationship, and you can no longer do it, or you need to move on or whatever. Just be upfront with it. Don't like drag up random reasons from nowhere.
Like, um, like I was getting really stressed out because like the guy broke up with me, so I was talking to the girl about it, and she's like, "Well, I'm just not gonna talk to you for a month." And this was right before a trip that she was doing to come to my house. So I
Oh,
was like, that's a problem because you're coming in a month, and I kind of need to like
plan.
talk to you because you're staying at my house. And she just refused to talk to me. So I said to the boy, I was like, "Hey, I need to talk to her about this, and this." And I was lying about what I needed to talk to her about, but like it was because, I'm like, I need to talk to her.
Mm-hmm.
She's visiting.
Yeah.
And he told her this. She went to my mom. Mom said that actually didn't need it. Immediately she goes to me being like, "You lied, you're horrible, I'm breaking up with you."
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, what? It was so weird. It was like you lied about like one thing when your motives were like truthful, and now we're breaking up a year-long relationship.
I yeah. So moving on to the other identities, another one that comes under flack from within the LGBT plus community quite a bit is gender fluid.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
again, transgender comes up a lot. The
And then there's
Tumblr
the
remarks,
and then there's the just MB deniers.
yeah, the true scum.
True scum, turfs, all those fun people.
Yes, all those
I
lovely,
remember
lovely
there was
people.
one Tumblr blog that went into the non-binary tag on Tumblr and started posting things like gore,
Oof,
and the name was Death to Non-Binaries.
ouch.
It
And
was a whole thing, and like I don't even know all the details, but like I believe it was like a young girl who was like very, very true scummy, who was like, if you have dysphoria, medically transition. If you don't, then you're just like if you don't have medical dysphoria, you're just seeking attention.
mm-hmm.
Those are the only lines. Never
Yeah,
mind the fact that social dysphoria exists, that every other kind of dysphoria exists. There's you are medically dysphoric or you're not, and those are your two boxes, and you must. If you're not medically dysphoric, leave us alone. I'm
here's the.
like,
What's that? Yeah, you saying?
go ahead.
I don't know. You go ahead. Sorry, I should let you finish.
Yeah, and it was just very like she ended up getting booted off Tumblr because she was posting literal gore, but
Mhm.
it was just like she was like such the worst kind of trans med because she's not even trans.
Yeah.
She was just spouting the rhetoric.
That's the thing. It's like that people. There's a type of person out there who wants to abuse people but wants to seem noble for doing it. So they'll latch on, and they'll do the sort of thing where they've got no dog in the fight. They'll just ignore the reality of what's happening, and they'll target a minority of a minority, abuse them, and justify it on grounds that actually I'm helping like the bigger lot.
I'm helping trans people by telling MBs they should kill themselves.
Yeah, it's absolutely horrific. Like, what do you hope to achieve by that? Oh, you're going to make people's lives worse. Well done. Like, do you feel proud of yourself? Um, yeah. And here's the thing, like, who's keeping track of who is and isn't medically transitioning? Like, there's a lot of these like posts where you can always tell sort of thing. There's like a lot of ridiculous like qualifiers, like the size of your hands, all the way down to the curliness of your arse hair is one of the funniest ones I've seen recently.
That one made me laugh so hard when you were talking about that
Yeah,
on
that
stream. I'm like,
this,
if you're at the point where you're looking at that, there's really no going back.
another one was the like the coarseness of the skin between the vulva and the anus. It's like, seriously, like you're just gonna get someone come home, undress them, 1 second, turn around, whoop.
I need to make sure you're not one of the transgenders.
Not one of the transes. But yeah, like it's just who's going to be the gender police on this? Who's going to check who has a medical thing? And by the way, what degree of medical transition is required? HRT, electrolysis, confirmation surgery. Like, which point does it end?
Meanwhile, I'm sitting here and I'm not going to be going on HRT because the things I would want out of HRT are just they're temporary things. I'd be going on T, and I want the fat redistribution and the vocal stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But those are both really temporary, and I don't want anything else.
Okay.
So I just like I'm doing vocal training myself. You probably can't hear it because I'm nervous as well as just trying to project. But I also the fat redistribution thing, like you can worse shapewear and stuff, and that's another thing. Like people say you can tell who's trans by looking at them. Like you can tell what biological gender they are by looking at them, and I'm sitting there like
the newspapers that disagree.
my dad says that he's like I can tell who's trans by their nose. He legit like pinned Jazz Jennings as a man because her nose is bigger. I'm like, You're Jewish. Why are you making no stereotypes?
Oof. Okay, yeah. But
Don't make no stereotypes. It's gonna lead to some
oh,
very bad roads.
yes, that's a very dark path to walk down. Um, oh, what was I gonna say? I've lost my train of thought again. I'm sorry. The hamster's like staggering at the moment. In the little
Now someone's
wheel.
talking about women's sports, and I'm like, I want to talk about that because I'm doing a research paper on it for school.
Okay. Yeah, we can talk about women's sports. As you know, I am like the one trans
I'm
defender on
using your
YouTube at the
video as a
moment.
source. I'm well aware.
Oh God. Yeah.
Legit. My teacher's like, what inspired you to do this? And I'm like, a YouTube channel I watch.
Oh, that was a hell of a year. All of the people involved have been invited back to the Faithless Forum to appear there, including Matt Dillahunty, who stopped going to Mythicon because Sargon of Akkad was going, and if you go to a conference which has bigots, then you yourself are as good as a bigot. And it's like, Stephen Woodford, the person that will be appearing at the conference as well, has actively made friends with Carla Swindon, Sargon of Akkad, and said that they actually share a lot of the same views on camera. So it's funny how with MythCon you did the right thing, and this time with Faithless Forum you seem quite happy appearing with someone like that. So there. Anyway, yes, athletics and sport. What would you like to talk about? So athletics and sport? What's athletics and sport? Trans people in sport.
Trans people in sport. But yeah, that's also like a whole you can pin a trans person based off of random bullshit.
Oh, that reminds me of there was that poll they did where like 2 in 3 men said, was it 2 in 8? I can't remember, but a surprising number of men said that they could beat a professional tennis player. So they actually got her to turn up and play against some of these men. As you can imagine,
They did not win.
they did not win. It did not go well for them. But we received a $40 donation from Walk
Ooh.
Not Talk. Thank you very much. Yes, it did not go well for them. It was actually quite embarrassing. Um,
And what I really wanted to like, what's really interesting about like the whole every trans debate that ever happens
mhm.
is people tend to forget trans men also exist.
Yes, I remember Dave Rubin like posted like this is what the trans sports debate is about. Trans people are fighting to allow this wrestler to stay in like the ring with women. It's like, actually, that's a trans man. The only reason they are fighting cis girls is because the school enforced policy that refuses to allow them to wrestle with cis men. So like you just shot yourself in the foot there.
That's
Um,
like also with the bathroom debate. Like
mhm.
the moment you start putting trans men in the women bathroom, you're gonna have the same issue all over again because women are gonna start like screaming that there are men in the restroom.
It's also just like we have nations all over the world which have inclusive bathroom policies. The UK is one. The GRA is not going to change anything about bathroom protections. Uh, Ireland has them as well. It doesn't happen. Like it's just not a thing. Trans people are constantly worried of being targets of abuse themselves. That they're not going to do anything. And someone who is willing to rape another person to like violate that bodily autonomy, do you really think a blue piece of plastic is going to stop them? It's just
Like honestly, I've gone into the men's restroom once in my life, and that was after I made sure my boyfriend goes in and confirms it's empty.
it's just
Because I wasn't sure if I passed or not, and I didn't want anyone like starting to scream at me because
mhm.
that just is a thing that's gonna end up happening.
Yeah, it's just
Like you're if you're like you never are sure how well you pass because
mhm.
dysphoria is
Yeah.
evil. So you're just like, oh yeah, well I can go into the women's bathroom and possibly not even pass in there and start being screamed at. That actually happened once. I was I was in a woman's bathroom because I was like wearing a skin tight shirt, and I as my mom puts it, I have been blessed with voluptuous curves.
Mm-hmm.
So like I was like assuming everyone would assume I'm a girl. So I go to the girls' restroom and I'm washing my hands, and Levi actually tweeted about this, and I was like, I'm washing my hands, and this woman starts like screaming and like being hysterical about a man in the woman's restroom. And I'm like, oh God, who? And then I'm like, wait, she thinks it's me. So
That's
then
just
she called security, and I literally show my ID to the security guy, and I'm like, no, I'm very female. And he's just like, and I'm like, what should I do in the future? And he's like, just avoid going to the bathroom. And I'm like, I need to pee. What do you want me to do?
trans people don't get to live in public apparently.
Yeah,
Um,
I was in a Walmart.
yeah, it's just that's just horrific. It's just yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, and this is literally right after I recovered from a UTI, so much so that I wasn't able to eat for a while because it made me so nauseous.
Mm-hmm.
So like imagine what would have happened if I did not go to the bathroom.
Yeah. Ugh, and
It's just ridiculous. Like we're
and the
not
thing
allowed to
is,
live.
it creates this climate of trans hysteria. Everyone's like looking for signs of trans people in their public spaces.
That it's making them paranoid.
It is making them paranoid, and like they're targeting everyone. Any cis woman that does not adhere to, the cis normative standards of what a woman should look like. Well, quite clearly she's trans. Um, and like there have been so many women who have been targeted with transphobic abuse because they're assumed to be trans women, and they're actually just cis women who don't fit stereotypical gender roles. I mean, I remember when Obama was president, the abuse like Michelle Obama used to get. One of the biggest conspiracies surrounding her was that, didn't you hear? She was once a man. It's in the hands. And it's like, oh god.
What?
Yeah, because apparently Michelle Obama has big hands.
I
I
no,
don't know
that
how
I
I don't know
understand.
how you
The fact that
quantify
her
that.
hands determines her sex is just
But yes,
baffling.
that's one of the tells they always do. That was also in that list with the curly ass hair. Um, that's another one. Big hands apparently is always yes, is always a trans woman. You can tell a trans woman by the big hands. It's like, first of all, how do you quantify big hands? That's like a very arbitrary sort of distinction.
Big
Uh,
hands. Every hand compared to mine is big. Is that what you mean?
like, also, is it length? Because it's length. Mine are massive lengthwise, but they're not actually that wide. It's just I've got pianist fingers, so yeah, it's just yeah, it's just that they start tearing each other apart, and
And then for some now cis girls can't go into the bathroom.
yeah, so you've now excluded
That
cis
was a
women from
video.
public spaces.
That's
Well
actually a
done.
video I saw. There was this like very butch lady,
Yeah, there's several
and she
videos like this.
was denied access to her own bathroom,
Hmm.
and they're like, please prove you're female by showing me your ID. And I'm like, who carries their ID with them to the bathroom? I was lucky.
Like, we shouldn't need to carry ID around with us like 24/7.
I shouldn't need to use my ID to go pee. I feel like it's a basic human right to go to the
It's
bathroom.
just like it's the simplest thing. Like you just build single stool bathrooms. Like it's so easy. Like
so
I,
it's
I
so simple.
like the funniest thing coming out of all of this is like what cis men think women do in like the bathroom. Like there was the American senator, I think it was. I can't remember if it was American. But there's one talking about how like cis women aren't going to want to wash their period blood underwear in front of complete strangers. It's like,
Wait, what?
okay, and then like everyone's like talking about, oh, they're gonna spy on you whilst like on the toilet, or they're gonna like, whip out their penis and whatever. It's like, do you like our women's bathrooms just set like there's just a floor with like a hole in the middle, and all like the bodily fluids just like drain towards the middle. So everyone's just like sitting in a circle, pulling their
Yes, it's
trousers
called
down.
the pit.
It's called the like, oh my god. And we have a super chat for $50 from Herb Evans. Thank you very much. It is much appreciated.
The gift that it came with it is really funny.
It's a big monster. It's a kaiju pair. And
I love it.
I was like, oh my god. It's just ridiculous because the thing is, anyone
I'm
can...
still hung up about that washing their period underwear. I'm like,
Yeah, that's the funny thing.
no!
And like I can understand like if you don't have a spare pair of underwear, you might have to do it, and I can understand that. But I don't think you're gonna be comfortable with anyone in the bathroom when you do it. I think that's sort of the situation.
Yeah. Oh, what are you doing? Oh, just washing my period underwear.
Just washing the
What?
underwear, dear. But they're not gonna be comfortable with anyone there.
Also, yeah, that was the thing. Like, people were saying on the whole, like, I'm gonna see a penis, and I'm like,
What?
do you look in other stalls when you go?
Oh, it's just fucking ridiculous.
Do you take your? Here's the other question: do you like take your own bottoms off before you enter the stall? Because that's the only way you're gonna see one.
Yeah.
Honestly.
If you're seeing like vulvas on a regular basis in women's bathrooms, then either you're tea housing, I can't remember. Tea housing, I think it's called. You're either tea housing, or yeah, you're doing it wrong.
Or you just have a problem and you like peeping over stalls. In which case, go see a psychiatrist because that's concerning.
Yeah, that is very concerning. So yes, I'm trying to think of where to take the topic next. Let's have a look at the another thing.
Oh, I have one.
Oh, okay.
So you heard about how I said I'm panromantic and bisexual.
Yes.
So many people go to me and say, "What's the difference?"
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it's like it's different for everyone, but it's like
the definition of bisexual changes to person.
yeah, and the whole me being, I don't want to have to go into the exact definitions of it for me, just because I don't want to be talking about who I want to bang on a live stream, but it's one of those like immediate, like you get a lot of panphobia and biphobia from different parts, and it's really awkward being both of them.
Yeah, and it's also annoying when straight people try to play one group off another. That's another thing I've noticed. Like
I've been told that me being bisexual makes me not want to have sex with trans people.
Yeah, trans exclusion. That's where I was going with that one. I've heard
Yep.
that one before. It's like I'm gender fluid.
Nope.
I just use bisexual because like it's the easiest to recognize term. It's culturally, it's been around a bit longer than the other ones. So for me, like I'll just stick with that. Even though other people with the same deity range as me would probably self-describe as pansexual.
And it's whatever you want. There's like
sticking with the flag.
There's a meme that keeps saying the differences between these are very small, but they matter to the people who use them.
And it's like, then you get people like, oh well, you're watering down the definition of bisexual. It's like, actually, if you go all the way back to like the 70s or 80s, I forget, there's a Bisexual Manifesto, I think it was. I can't remember if it's the 80s or 90s actually, but it was quite early on. Bisexual Manifesto came out and was like acknowledges that some bisexual people are attracted to more than two genders. Oh, but the word has bi in it. Language evolves. Well, that's like the contemporary like changing of it, adapting of it. But that's like language evolves. I mean, lesbian originally just meant any woman who was attracted to other women, but nowadays we typically see
we use
lesbian.
sapphic for that.
Yeah, now we use sapphic for that. I mean, now we typically use lesbian to mean women who are only attracted to other women. But some women still use lesbian. Some bisexual women. Otherwise, bisexual women still use lesbian as well. Some
and then
reject
there's some
bisexual.
non-binary people.
Yeah,
There's
non-binary
some
as well.
non-binary people who use lesbian. A friend of mine, completely like not connected to being a girl at all, uses the term lesbian just because that's what's most comfortable for them.
I've even seen trans men who use the word, and I've had like the privilege to talk to a few of them. I did a placement year in an LGBT plus charity where I was kind of a buddy counselor. I wasn't a trained therapist or anything. I was just there to like offer certain support for our trans service users. And I got sometimes like talk to a couple of them about this, and like the one thing that kept coming up was the fact that they grew up like not knowing what trans was for the longest time, so they used like lesbian. That's everyone like assumed they were lesbian, so they went by lesbian community, etc. They then came out as a trans man. However, they still have that personal history and connection with lesbian as a term. So you know, again, it really depends on the person, and as long as they're not using the language to exclude anyone or be a bigot, it doesn't really matter. If you need clarification, ask. If they don't want to give it, respects that. You know.
Yeah, there's like that whole thing that a lot of people are losing. I say losing their mind over, but it might just be a vocal minority. A lot of people complain about he him lesbians,
Mm-hmm.
where it's like it could be like a bigender person who identifies as lesbian, and then people immediately go like, "Oh, but it's impossible to both have he him and be a lesbian." And it's
Yeah.
like
It's just...
let people be people if they like honestly, seriously.
It's amazing how we tear each other apart over these labels, which are completely fabricated. Oh, that's another good one. You're just inventing labels now.
Everything's been invented.
Yes, like, oh no,
Gay was invented once.
I'm sorry, I didn't get my labels organically sourced from home produce or whatever. Um, they're synthetic, and it's just like that. That's how language works. God, no one descended and gave us all of these words. Like, here's an English dictionary. You know,
Let me
there you
quote Phil
go.
real quick. All words are made up.
Yeah, but it's just yeah. But no, apparently words have intrinsic meaning. The words exist as a thing, um, and it's like even if they did exist as a thing, what you're effectively arguing is that words are more important than the people they describe, and that's just why would you like hold that? Why would you hold that view? So yeah.
Yeah, the whole like words are more like if words are more important than the people that you describe. Like with me, I never like when I meet someone, I never list the entirety of my labels because it really doesn't matter. First, like you should be a person
Mm-hmm.
and then be like, "Oh yeah, I like identify yourself with your gender, like your name and your pronouns." And then like if labels come up, they come up.
Yeah.
It's less like, "Hello, I am a homosexual," and it's more, "Hi, I'm David." And then like 5 days later, you're like, "Oh yeah, I like guys."
Yeah. Interestingly, I took a very different approach when I started college because, again, I got outed at school, and I had that power like taken from me on how I came out, which is a really fucking horrible experience. Like suddenly, a load of people are running up to you asking, "Are you bisexual?" Um, so I was going to college. I was like, you know what? I'm fucking done with the bullying. I'm going to use this first day as an opportunity to assert myself and make it clear that I'm not taking any bullshit. And you know, you do that thing in class when you start a new class is let's go around a circle and introduce one
Tell
fact about ourselves.
say your name and one interesting fact about you, and you always choose some like really stupid thing like I went to summer camp.
Yeah. I stood up and I said, I'm bisexual. We're not going to have a problem about this. And sat back down. I made two friends straight away that day because at the end of the class,
I feel
two
like your teacher got mad at you for some reason.
they all gave me like weird looks. Like that was a bit upfront. But I got approached by two guys at the end of class who were both gay. One of them was openish, but like hadn't opened up to the class, of course. And the other one was completely closeted from everyone. So like, and then throughout the years, they became very open about it. So like, I'm happy to have played a part in like that coming out. They came from a Nepalese background. They just moved to the UK from Nepal. So yeah. Um, so I take a different approach. I asserted my dominance. I bit the ear of my classmates and let them know who's boss.
Well,
And
I
I didn't have a problem that year. There was only
yeah,
one
the
person that was a bit of a prick about things, but she was a prick to everybody. So yeah.
the year I started going by Glade when I was coming out to like a few teachers I knew would be cool. Like there's a very flamboyant gay teacher, so I was like, "Hey, I'm probably gender fluid. Can you use this name for me?" And he was like a teacher of mine. Like I actually had him for a period, and what ended up happening was he decided to use the name, like he decided to use Glade even during class,
Mm-hmm.
so everyone would hear it, and it led to so many questions
Uh, uh,
because I went to the school for like and from like fourth grade, so this was like 6 years, and then suddenly everyone's like hearing me go by a different name, and no one knows why because my birth name and my and Glade have no similarity. Like it can't even be a nickname.
mm-hmm.
So then they'd be like, "Oh, what's going on?" And I'd be like, "Oh yeah, I'm gender fluid and I'm trying this new thing out." And luckily half my school's bisexual. So they're all just kind of they didn't get
The
it,
bi
but they were
conspiracy.
chill.
uh,
They didn't get it, but they were chill. Like they'd go like, "Is that something like being a gender?" And I'm like,
like that's the thing. You can sort of deal with that like genuine curiosity. You can sort of deal with that. Like it doesn't even come close to like confrontational bigotry.
you're like they're not like you don't exist. It's more like I'm curious. What is this new label I've never heard of
The,
in
the,
my
the,
life?
the monkey brain going to like, oh, new thing. What is this? Okay.
Tiny.
Exciting. Yeah. Like how like someone asking the question, Rick Nelson, was that inadvertently outing you? I
Ew, yeah, but I also told him to refer to me by that. So it was less outing me and more being like, I I thought that my being, oh, I'm trying it out made him real. I thought he would realize that I haven't really outed myself to the school yet,
so yeah.
but he kind of was just like chill about it. He didn't go like, this is Glade. They are a gender fluid person and you must respect them. He was more just like chill about it. Like he wasn't like he he was casual with the whole thing. So when people just kind of normalized it in their head and then they would come up to me and be like, "Hey, why is this anyway?" And I could always choose to be like, it's just a nickname. I'm gonna and move on with my life. But I decided to actually kind of own it because it's not comfortable when people start misgendering you and giving you dysphoria, even if it's like um
And so I just saw Amanda Manando just said, gender salespersons.
last
Slash
roof of gender.
gender.
This
This baby
baby
is
is
so
so shiny.
that's the gender fluid life.
It is. It is.
The amount of genders you can fit in this thing is
Too many.
yeah.
Too fucking many.
There are days where you just don't know. You're just
I
drifting
made a
in the.
joke to Levi. I'm like, so what we do is we wake up, we go to a communal area, we grab a gender, and then we head back home.
Oh, this didn't that. Oh, back in my day, it was like a raffle thing. But it had a raffle turner. So like you dip your hand in the first piece of cards you take out's your gender now. So that's your gender for the day. Okay, off you go. Um,
Yeah, and then you like you just go about your day, and then you realize that you put on a skirt when it's a guy day, and you're like, fuck.
Shit. I am a terrible trans. I'm a terrible trans.
I am bad.
I'm so bad at gender. I have so many. I'm just bad at them. It's jack of all trades.
Jack of all trades, but
trades,
master
but
of
gender.
none.
None of none.
I love the non-binary like gender jokes.
Yeah.
Like,
If they come from within the community, then they're wholesome.
no, yeah, like the jokes where they're like, I mean, I went to the store to go buy a gender, but then I saw the sales.
So the people go, oh, you know, oh, we can't joke about like trans issues then because you're also fucking sensitive. It's like, no, your jokes just suck.
Like your
Better
jokes
material.
equate to I identify as some real ridiculous thing. Ours actually makes sense.
Yeah, it's just, oh god.
Like I have a friend who's like barely demigirl, like 95% agender, 5% girl. And they just keep joking like I was trying to drink out of the agender bottle, but then there's like just this tiny bit left and it's very annoying.
They got Hercules. You know the animated Hercules when they're turning.
Yes, I know
them
exactly what
mortal.
you're talking
And
about.
it's the one
You
drop.
absolute
It's the
dork.
one drop they miss.
And now I have this 5% girl I have no idea what to do with.
That's just yeah. I just want to create a changeling bard now and just like make that gender joke. It's that one gimmick. Yeah, jack of all
My
genders,
gender is
master of none.
Hercules. It's the animated Hercules.
Like every time I'm describing, like every day is like a different outfit. It's just like a mismatch. It's never the same. It's like,
Never the same outfit, and every time it's presenting differently. Like you're wearing like a tuxedo top and then like a skirt underneath or
Yeah.
something.
a little skirt, and the next time it's a long flowing dress, but it's like a upper suit sort of thing, and
And it's just different every time.
It gets really confusing when you start entering like kilts in it. Is that a kilt or is that a skirt? Okay.
Kilts, there was actually female kilts that are longer.
But someone's taking out a measuring tape and trying to like figure it out. But yeah.
And here's the thing, guy kilts go like to the thigh and girls kilts go to the ankle, so just wear it to your knees.
Just fuck with them, or have a tilted one. Like you sometimes see like the slanted dresses. Have a slanted...
It's my turn on the gender.
Like, try it now. Oh, but yeah.
Mom said it's my turn on the gender. That's how gender fluid people work. We just go to each other's rooms and are like, it's my turn on the gender.
There's just so much you can do with this.
It's amazing.
Yeah, the opportunities are literally limitless. But biggest are just as unimaginative.
Murder, attack helicopter jokes.
Oh, there's a attack helicopter. Oh, did you miss?
Once someone
did you
told me that
misgender
someone
me?
told me that because I'm MB, they identify as a lamp, and I was like, well, you must be a really shitty lamp because you're not enlightening at all.
You're not very bright. But yeah. Yeah, I think that has been a rather good stream.
That was fun.
That was fun. Thank you, Glade, for coming on, and I hope...
And now we have sadness with Levi.
Now we have sadness with Levi. It's half an hour first. I got a half-hour break first.
No,
yeah.
It's straight to sadness.
It's always sorrow with the bird. Always honking in your ear. So yes, we'll be back in half an hour.
I like how he's not saying anything to our hatred of him.
I'll get it. I'll probably open Twitter. That's got like all of these messages.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, Levi, I take all the credit for bringing them.
But yes, thank you, Glade, for coming on. It has been wonderful. I'm sure everyone has appreciated our chat here. Speaking of which, thank you to everyone who has turned up to watch the show. It has been wonderful hosting, this time with no errors or power cuts or anything like that. And also thank you to everyone who has donated. You are doing wonderful things, helping us build up a defense against transphobic bigotry and slap suits. So yeah, are there any things that you'd like to plug whilst you're here? You have the mic.
Uh, I have a Twitter, but I never use it. So like look out for a Graceful Gamer channel or something of similar nature
Uh,
on YouTube because I will be doing movie reviews and I will be talking about being like all the different kinds of labels on there. Like I'm planning on doing Mulan and talking about how people see it as like a metaphor for being trans. So
yeah, I have links to your Twitter there. Because I like if people go to your Twitter, I imagine you'll probably post your channel to your Twitter when you start producing stuff.
no, yeah, for sure.
So yeah, if you, at least if nothing else, if you don't want to go searching through the interwebs or YouTube, you can always just follow the Twitter, and then when they start producing stuff, you'll get notified there. So
Yeah.
yeah, I would read out the long list of interviews I have left, but
Yeah, Levi.
I only have Levi left. The bard from last night. So yes, I will see you all then. And with that, remember to D and do your bit.